Hello and welcome back to Darkstorm Rising. Ian here. Seems an absolute age since I've seen you last, but welcome back. I think it's probably about a week, but it seems a long time. Today I'm going to move away from my usual Tyranid type presentation. I'm trying to mix it up and get a few other races in there, and today it's Tau's turn. In the last video you'll see I did a Broodlord for one of my children, and I'm now doing my other son. He's big into Tau, and I'm going to see if I can surprise him as well with a Commander Shadowsun. So we'll see what we can manage here. If you do think that you like the video, please do like and subscribe. So really, all we've got to do is get some painting done. Over to the table. Well, welcome back one and all. Really good to see you all. As you can see from the miniature, I've already done some work. So what I've done so far is I've put PVA glue on the base, sprinkled some sharp sand on just to bring the base out, added one or two skulls, one or two stones just to extend everything out. And if we look up close, what you'll see is there are one or two areas where I've not quite caught the black. I painted, first of all, the PVA glue, and then I left that 12 hours to cure before I went near it with paint. Then painted all this last night, a good 12 hours ago, to give the black chance to dry. If you base coat and then paint too quickly afterwards, the base coat will just leach through and diminish the colour that you're painting in. So it's all about patience and just giving it a bit of time to dry, so you've got a good base coat to work with, and then your colours do stand proud on top. I'm just going to whip round the miniature, touch up all the black bits I missed last night, and then we'll crack on. So we've turned our miniature completely black, been round him and just tidied him up. And now really what we need to do is decide on which panels we're going to send which colours. So as we work our way around the model, we will pick out which panels we think are going to be the ones that emphasise the key colour, and then which ones accent and give nice definition to that key colour. I think I'm probably going to work in reds, greys and whites, and what I'll do is all of the main panels in red, and then I'll move over into the greys and the whites to give a bit more definition and a bit more colour. I'll bring out the red. So our first colour is going to be Citadel's Corn Red. What we will do is we'll use an old brush just for dragging the paint from the pot over onto the palette, just to reduce the wear and tear on our main painting brush. And we'll, even though it is an old brush, we'll give it a good wash, and then we'll give it a good clean and dry, just like it was a more expensive brush. Try and get the most out of all of our brushes so that we don't have to visit to the shop too many times. Now when we're actually starting to paint the model, in my head I'm sort of creating a colour scheme of where I want which colours. I'll just bring it a little closer for you. So I'm going to work on this shoulder panel, and even when I'm talking about working on a single shoulder panel, I'm going to carefully go around it, and I'm actually going to break it down into 3 sections. And what I'm going to do is there's the circle on the top of the panel I'm going to leave for a colour later, and the very end panel of the shoulder plate I'm also going to leave. So I'm just being very, very careful, very, very tidy as I work my way around. And I'm not going to bore you with working my way around the model. What I'll do is I'll have a look at where I think the colours are going to work best. If you want to follow my colour scheme, that's fine. If you want to make up your own panel choices, that's brilliant as well. Love to see creative work out there. I'm hoping that I'm helping people and maybe inspiring them to do their own thing. So I'll work my way around the rest of the model, and then I'll be back in a few moments with hopefully a polished result. So you can see I've worked my way around most of the model now in the red where I want it. And what I've done is I've left this last little wing because there's a couple of hints and tips to give you to hopefully help you paint the miniatures better. So I'll just get a little bit more of the corn red. Okay. So when you see this little black panel here, I want to leave that black. So what I would advise, because the texture of them is so fine, try and draw down lines down and re-angle your model so that you're actually drawing your lines down and around so you don't cross over. But in these deeper recesses here, where you have a much deeper recess to follow, if you stroke across them, your coverage is instant and you don't go into the deep recesses. So that's just two nice little things I've observed as I've gone around the miniature. And then the other thing I've observed is that these models would really benefit from being broken down and not constructed completely to start with. I have a new admiration for you town players if you're building these guys all the time. But one of the things I found is even if you build them like I have done, and I've never ever had to break a model down before, but even if you do construct it, one of the things that I found is that all of the areas that you tend to catch are really prominent and easy to touch up with black again once you've done. Now, one of the things that's really exciting for town players, as you work your way around the model, it's up to you which areas you pick to go black, which areas you pick to leave coloured, where you want to put your transfers in, or if you want to do freehand painting. I've left quite a lot of black areas because I've got a really good idea for the exhaust here and on the back, and also the guns themselves to tie them in. But I've left some areas for some. This guy's meant to be a commander, so he's seen some combat. So all over him, he's going to have evidence of merits from various combats. So I've left lots and lots of room to put those merits on. So the next step is we're going to concentrate on the red and go to the highlight tone. I am going to put some white on the face here to actually give the borderline of the face so I know where the red is going to be consistently. Right, okay, so I've just mixed a little bit of pure white on my palette, and that's by Vallejo. It's, hang on 1 second. There we go. So nothing exciting, just some plain old white. Probably going to take a couple of coats, but as you can see from the base coat I've done with the corn, I may, as I paint, need to just put a layer on, but actually the little bits of black showing through with the corn are actually going to act as shadow when we put the next coat on. Damn it. Okay, so just caught a little bit of a blob on there. So we'll just get rid of that. White up on the face. There's actually a little break in the armour here that makes it look like it's no longer a straight line. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over onto the next plate, but leave the black line of the edge of the plate there, just so that I can make that line look straight. And I think you can see the little break in the plate there if I get close enough. So the next colour we're going to go for is we're going to move on to Mephiston Red. We're going to start to brighten him up. So I'll talk about what we're doing on a couple of plates, and then I'll go around and do the rest everywhere else. Okay, so essentially if we imagine from one direction where the sun's coming, I'm going to go for sort of this direction. We want the light to be coming from that direction, so what we'll do is we'll take the light in from that direction, above and over there, edge of the plate, and again we'll map the two so they're fairly symmetrical. Keep the blend. Try and catch the edge with a bit of colour. And then we'll get a little bit of the Mephiston and we'll mix it with the corn, and then what we'll do is we'll just blend the edges in together and just create a bit more subtlety. And just take those paints through each other, and I can, compared to the other colour, you can already see the transition. I'm trying to give around about maybe 2/3 colour to the plate, and then I'm just going to go back over the edges again with the Mephiston and just pull the colour through, keeping it on those upper edges and on the very edges of the upper surface, down the edge, just gently working it in. Okay, and then what we're going to do is next we're going to grab some Evil Suns, give that a good shake. And then the Evil Suns is going to be our edging highlight. So just wipe off the little bit of excess and then just stroke it onto the very edges, down those border lines where the sun would strike a little bit harder. And we're just starting to get a nice little bit of pop of colour. I don't really want to go to anything like a white on the edges because it makes it a little unnatural in look. I think you can start to see we're getting some nice transition there. So I'm going to do that process, trying to bear in mind that light is coming in from this direction. So as we do the arm on the underside, there's going to be very little light captured under here. So I'll tend to leave that darker, much more of the corn present on this reverse side and work the light in this side, and then hopefully it should make it look a little bit more 3D-ish. So I've worked my way around the model with the Mephiston red, and you can see that we've gone for highlights dominantly this side, and then as we come around the model there's less and less, and then if you actually look under here we've just left it the dark red with bits of highlights just on the accents that would catch a little bit of light, and then as we come around to the sunshine again we've gone heavily Mephiston red, 2/3 75% on most surface areas on that upper side, and then if we look underneath again we've gone dark again. So now we'll go around with the highlights with the Evil Suns, and I'll just pop a little bit on here and there for you just so that you can see how it makes it just pop that little bit more. So we'll cover down that edge. We're going to sugar, just going to reduce our coverage a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll work around all those surface edges like we're doing here, just little dabs of colour. So I'm reducing my coverage from about 2/3 down to about 1/10 to 25% on the edges, just to give the edges that highlight of a pop. So now I'll go around the model, I'll clean up the little mess I made here. I'll go around the rest of the model and touch it up, and then we'll look at the contrast in the next session. Now, having had a look at the model, I'll show you it. The colours are coming together and we can definitely see the highlight borders, but it's not really popping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some sun yellow, and I'm just going to mix that with some of the Evil Suns. To generate as a yellowy orange, and just really be careful and touch the highlights up. Let's see what colour we keep pushing the yellow in until we get to a nice orangey bright glow. Okay, and then clean my brush. Make sure I've got all the water out of it. And then just make sure that we've got all the excess wiped off, so it's a very fine amount of paint on there. And just that tiny amount of yellow has just pushed the borders really nicely. So what I'll do is I'll go around the rest of the model, just touching up the highlights from this side, from the sunshine side, leaving the recesses dark, but just popping those edges on this side and just trying to promote that colour through. So I'll do that, and then I'll come and have a look and see how we've done. Okay, so I've been around the upper left corner, going around all the highlights. Starting to come together, I think. And I think once we start to do the black, put some accessories on, and the weapons, I have plans for the weapons. And I appear to have missed a complete arm. So I'll go back and touch up the arm. And then what we'll do is we will come back and start to talk about what we do with the black sections. So the next steps are actually going to be quite easy, and what we're going to do is we're going to give some definition to all of the weaponry and to the backpack. So everything is going to get a coat of Eshin Grey, that's a Citadel miniature colour, and then after that we're going to go to Sky Grey and maybe a little bit of white. So the idea will be that on the undersides and on the darker areas will be Eshin, but we're going to go everywhere with Eshin. And then on the brighter sides, we're going to do a thinner coat of the light grey. And if we really need to make it pop, then we'll go for the white afterwards. So let's have a look. And we'll just cover a small area, and then as usual, I'll go around the rest of the miniature. So we've got quite a lot of detail on these barrels here. So what we'll do is we'll work on the edge towards us, and we'll just gently strike the upper surface. And then around the little square. and on any edge we could just draw the edge of the brush down it. I'm actually going to leave this top area of the gun colour free actually, so I'll just concentrate on this bit here, and also this area here I'm going to send a different colour as well, so we'll leave that as well, and we'll concentrate back on the main barrel. Okay, and then because this is a sunnier side, we will then go over very carefully with the lighter grey. Now, because the sun's coming in from this side, I'm going to strike the sides on the opposite more dominantly. So we'll come to the opposite side. And the sun's going to catch these sides more, so we'll just gently catch the sides so that it looks like light is hitting from this way, and we've just left the darker grey on those sides there. So it will give us a natural .3D look. Just emphasises it. So I'm going to work my way around the model, and then I'll show you how I've worked that look all the way around, and then we'll go on to the next step. Now, I don't know if you noticed in that last section, but what I'm finding, and we did do a video on this a little while ago, is that the tip of my brush is actually getting a bit battered now, and it's starting to get like a little bit of a one or two strandy hairs at the end, which are meaning that actually I'm starting to overrun a little bit when I'm painting with the main part of the brush. So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at an angle, come in and just take out those last few fine hairs. And give me my point back on the brush. And we'll see if that gives me a better build to detail again. So I'll work my way around the model, and I'll see you in a few moments. So I haven't finished yet, but you can see I've just started doing a few highlights on the barrels. But what I've noticed is that actually I would have rather painted some areas, like as I've been working my way around, like the circle on the top here, the shoulder panels, I'd rather start to fill those in with colour as I'm going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of those now, just so that you can actually see them painted, and then I can work my way around once you know what I'm up to. So for the shoulder pad, we will go just straight across. And this is sky grey with a tiny little bit of Eshin mixed into it. And just having taken those end bristles out of that brush has worked quite nicely. It's given me a bit better edge to work with. Okay, so we're just going to work around the model doing all the areas in grey, as well as working around and doing those little highlight areas all around the bits of black. So that's going to stay black, we'll get a highlight. That's going to go grey, will go grey, and then I'll leave others, because I'm probably going to work some of the colours in here, and I'll leave those till the end to do with you. So as you can see, I've worked my way around the model in Eshin Grey. I've also filled in some of the plates and panels in the Sky Grey from Vallejo. Some of the knee joints are also in the Eshin Grey, but the centre panels and some of these other areas on here I'm going to start doing in some metallics. But before that, I just need to highlight the greys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the Sky Grey and mix in some white. And then on the areas that are catching light, we're just going to give them a little bit of an edge. And just create the essence of light on the upper surface. So where you get the angles on the edges here. Just so where the light would catch it, just give it a little bit of pop. Top of the helmet's going to catch a lot of light. So from that right side we'll go all the way down and then catch the front bit. And then on the wings, a little line down that side. I don't know if the camera's really catching it, but there is a perceptible difference in reality. And it is just bringing the colours out a little bit. And I think the bottom end of the shin pad would probably, there we go, edge of that foot, top panel of the ankle there, definitely most of this, oh, I'll get rid of that in a second. Slowly work at it with a bit of water. And then we'll grab a little bit of the Mephiston and just, I think what I'm going to do is I've changed the camera angle slightly to try and give a better view for you guys, but I'm actually finding that painting at this angle is actually a little bit awkward. It's just causing me to leave my arms out a bit. I think I need to come a bit closer to work, so I'll readjust for the next video. Right, okay, so that's the lighter greys highlighted with the first coat, and then we'll go to white. There we go. And then really lightly just on the tips there, down the edge. And what I'll do is all the panels that are uppermost facing, I will just catch with a little bit of white in the top corner. Just there we go. So that's give us a little bit of pop there. And on the darker grey, we'll take the sky grey into the Eshin grey to give us a highlight colour. And then we'll just gently catch the edges and just bring that dark grey up a little bit in colour. And then on the round pieces here, I've left them dominantly black, but I've put some Eshin down the sides and then an Eshin band across the middle. And then this next colour, I'll gently blend that in. And then we'll go to the sky grey and just put in across the middle of the band. And hopefully you can see there, it just makes it look like it is 3D and reflecting. Don't know when I call that. There we go, got it. That's better, okay. So I'm going to go around and just tidy up the greys. And what I'm trying to go for in the symbol is that we'll have a pale grey, a dark grey, and then the dot will be in a bright red. And I'll work that into the motif all the way around. The next step is where I've done all the Eshin grey on these edges, wherever there is light hitting it, I'm just going to put a little bit of the sky grey just to highlight the fact that the light's falling on it. And so just to re-emphasise, I think we sort of talked about this a little bit earlier. But so on this gun, for example, so the light's coming in from the opposite side and across. So what we'll do, just make sure we ain't got too much on our brush, and then we'll just gently, as we did previously. Now the front of the gun doesn't need painting, you'll see why very shortly, or you won't actually, maybe. I'll explain myself in a little while. For now we'll just concentrate on the bits we're doing. There, you can see that all starting to come together. And again, you can see on the top of this barrel, I've done that Eshen grey in like little circlets. So what I'm going to do is just enhance those a little. And all the way along the barrel, trying to keep it in a straightish line, not perfect straight line, but a straightish line. And it'll just give you that sense of reflection. So I've gone to a slightly lighter grey, and then right in the middle, I'll just get a little bit of the darker. It's not carried through quite as nicely on this barrel, but we'll soon sort that out. So we'll just get a little bit of the Eshen. There we go, that's better. So I think that looks like the light striking it from above. We'll do the same on the other gun. This centre section here, that's going to be metallic. There'll be one or two little bit of metallics, which I'll paint with true metallics and then do a little dark wash over the top. I'll show you that step by step, but I'm just going to go around and touch all the other grey bits that I've done, just make sure I have caught them all, like doing the reflection on the sides of this barrel, putting in the rest of the white reflections down the side here, and then we'll come back and we'll do the metal work. Right, so he's starting to look quite finished now, very much getting there. The reds and the greys, they've all got their highlights on, but we are going to go around the model now and we're going to start to look at putting some of the metal work in. There's just one or two areas around the model where it's just needs some finishing touches. Over on the gun here, you can start to see that it's coming three-dimensional. I just want to put a few little bit of some metal work on. And for that we're going to use Vallejo's, and it's an airbrush colour, but it's aluminium. Quite a bright metallic colour, very silvery. Very good coverage, you'll only need one coat. And it's a very liquid paint, so it does move around the model very well. So we'll apply it to this, if I can get it to focus, we'll apply it to the knee joint first, and just get the little swivel mount painted in. Okay, and then there's a few other areas that we're going to cover. The ankle joint, we're also going to do these panels on the side, some of the engine mounting, and on the gun, and the central pin in the centre there, and one or two of the other little knobbly bits here and there just to make them look metallic. Okay, the gun I just very simply did in the same silver and black wash. Thought I'd keep it nice and simple there. And then the next step we're going to do is we're going to do the sash that's tied around his holster. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to get some of the white and some of the grey, mix that so we've got quite a high contrast colour, and then we will apply the white to any area that is high set value. Not in any meaningful way. We're literally just catching the upper surface areas. Definitely want this edge here to catch the light. And then down the back of the sash on that prominence. And again on that little wiggle and at the end. Okay, and that's going to give us some higher values, whatever colour we decide to apply. I'm going to go for Blood Angel's contrast colour. I'll just give that a few moments just to dry a bit more thoroughly. So all I'll do is I'll end up moving the colour around the model. I don't think I actually need to. Let's just maybe work a little bit of colour into the edge here, just that when you look at it you are actually going to see a difference, and you're going to see some tone in there so that you can actually distinguish what's going on. And then again on the front, and just all there. Okay, and then we'll give the Blood Angels a good shake, and I'm just going to disappear for a couple of moments while that white does dry and harden off a little bit. I'll probably give it 5 or 10 minutes just so that it does cure a bit. I think otherwise all what I'm going to just end up doing is just like I've said, and that's just redistributing the paint all over the place, and we'll end up with a pink sash. So I think we do need to give that just a little bit of chance to dry, and I'll be back in a few moments. Right, now to see if I've been patient enough and waited long enough for the paint to dry. So we'll get the Blood Angels, and we're going to go for a nice quick technique here. So take the model and we will literally just paint the Blood Angels over the top of everything, and the darks will give us the shadow, and the white will give us the vibrancy of the colour. Obviously not forgetting to do both sides of the sash. And also the sash that's on the gun itself. And then what we will do is we will come back once that's dry, and we will touch up with a little bit of highlight. There we go. So yeah, we'll come back and touch that up with highlight once it's dry. So to highlight the scarf, we're going to use some Vallejo Scarlet. Just get a little bit on the brush. And where it highlights, we'll literally run down the edge. Right on the edges of the scarf, we'll just put almost stippled, just because it is a scarf, it's meant to be material, give it a little bit of texture. And then we'll pop in a tiny little bit of yellow into the scarlet, turning it almost an orange. And then again just some accents of colour on the upper surfaces. And then again on the edge here. And I think that will do his scarf. I'll look at it from the front I think with it being under there, I think there's enough highlight on there, and maybe just because you can see it through the back, maybe just a little bit of extra highlight on right on the edges of the scarf that's wrapped around his gun. Okay. Right, so now just for the final bit, if I haven't smashed the model, now for the final bit that finishes the model. And that, my friends, is the finished model. Complete with afterburners firing, guns ablazing. I hope you enjoyed. Well, that wraps another video up. You may be confused as to why there is a jump from no plasma weapons to plasma weapons being completed. Well, for a while now I've been meaning to do a plasma or fusion weapon video. So I'm actually going to release that as a separate video. It's going to be released at the same time, so you can just jump over and watch that video as well. If you've liked everything so far in the Shadowsun video, please do like and subscribe. And quick, nip over to the other video to see how the fusion weapons were done. Catch you again soon, guys.